It's very black and white. So you have people who people who are really excited about this and wanted it for years, and people who have see no point, no reason whatsoever. So we were going to go into the discussion here today on what this could potentially mean, what impact would this have, and it will have it in Midnight, so basically the next expansion.
Yeah.
And how would this be translated into current gameplay? Because this obviously is here a system that will be here to stay, so they have to take it for the bigger picture, right? It's not going to be something, oh, you're going to have this only in Midnight. See, in the last time, no more houses.
Yeah,
right?
now that this is Pandora's box. You open it, it's there to stay.
Yeah. So let's kick it off. Now we saw the teaser, right? Like we can definitely confirm, there's no question about it. This is gonna come in Midnight, probably during the pre-patch of Midnight if we're lucky. My first question when I saw this and what popped into my head is like, where would the plots be? Where would you?
That was one of the most interesting questions.
But no, for real. Like, think about it. Okay, so we now have the phasing tech, right? Which is basically they use that somehow in garrisons. Now, it would be a real shame if like the majority of people would not be able to see your house. I think one of the coolest things about houses like player housing and stuff is actually getting people in and showing off your trophies, your armors, your whatever, your decoration skills. I don't care. How would that work? Like, where do you think they would be able to plot houses for thousands of players?
We've had this discussion for about 3 hours today on stream. I have so many ideas. I think you're ready. So,
but think about the tech, okay?
Yeah, of course.
In mind the technology.
I think the tech is fine. The tech is probably the least of the problems. The problem is, or if there is like an obstacle, is implementation. I think you have to not just do this at the level of people that people expect. Oh, you just have an instanced little chamber that you go in and that's you. No, I think this will have to go a step above, and we have to take garrisons as a comparison. First of all, there has to be the element of you liking your own house, and there has to be the element of you showing your own house, like you said. And there's also and in you liking your own house, that means that you have to have options. You cannot just get one house and that's it, that's all you get. One little house in Stormwind and it's instance for everybody and everybody's in the same place and so on and so forth. That's not gonna be how it is. I think that the player housing will come with revamped capital cities, because I have taken a flight today in all of the capital cities of the world, and not all of them have spaces for houses, if they will be in capital cities, because I'm thinking, if I am a human, I want to have my house in Stormwind. But
me too.
I also want a farm in Goldshire, because you know what? Something that's cool that the garrisons did, that you had a barn for your mounts. That could be a cool way to sell the housing concept. Oh, this is my invincible. Look at it prancing around and eating the grass, right? That's a way to showcase it visibly to people.
Yeah, I mean, it would be that would be cool. As opposed to just having a stable with generic mounts, like you click on it and there you see your collection.
It's not going to be generic. It's going to be your own.
You have to see your mount. So like if you're going to have invincible prancing around, yes,
your mounts, and you get to choose which ones they're going to be there. You
get to choose who prances around.
Exactly.
All right.
And it has to be in an open world, because it wouldn't make sense to be enclosed, so it cannot be in a capital city. It would have to be in Elwyn Forest. It would have to be in Durotar. It would have to be in Mulgar or something like that.
If you think about it, there is a lot of empty terrain all over the place. Yeah, I mean, but would that get populated with that's my question. Like, would they go on the phasing route in the sense that you don't see houses, like if you're not phased with somebody in your party or whatever, similar to garrisons? Would they go all out? Would the server support this type of shit?
I don't. Well, there's way too many people, and everybody wants to have their own thing. I think a realistic way of doing it is the party leader gets to have their housing phase into the world for the entire party to visit in. Yeah. And we go to a second point. But because I went into the new Night Owl city, because obviously Darnassus is burned, it's ash. Belameth, which is the Amidrasil zone that we've just finished and saved, and it's like half empty. It's like there's so much open space for buildings. They've put buildings here and there.
Isn't that instanced?
No. It's next to Northern Plains now. After the raid,
but isn't it instanced though?
No. It 10-7. So you have the Emerald Dream, which we were in, but after 10, I think in 10-5 or 10-7, once the story was concluded, they actually opened up the zone
over there. All right,
there's no questing. There was nothing. It was just open. Nothing.
And the quest over there. Shut up.
There is a Night Elf quest with Malfurion talking about her a kid of Night Elf. Whatever. That's not the point.
I did quest.
The point is that there's space for them to keep adding houses, and if they want, and if they say, dude, Joey, you get to have a house in World of Warcraft, where would you want it? Oh, gee, I wanted it Orgrimmar or in Stormwind. The thing is, Orgrimmar at the very least doesn't have space for houses, so you know that is going to have to follow up with a revamp of the capital city, because Orgrimmar is like two versions of Orgrimmar. Is the classic version of Orgrimmar with the old buildings, rugged leather rooftops, and the mop wad version of Orgrimmar revamped with the Horde, with Garrosh and everything, with like the new roof tiles and all of that stuff. And even with that, it still sucks more than Stormwind, and I can say this because I'm an Orc and an Horde fanboy. So that is the one part of why we're probably gonna have options, where they're being the capital city and out in the world.
Yeah, I think a really cool idea. So like instanced neighborhoods.
Ooh.
I would love that. Like, this is one thing I would love to happen, is to actually see all this empty terrain being filled up with shit, right?
Yeah,
okay, it's going to be very hard for the servers, and obviously the tech behind the engine would be, oh my God. But if you're going to have instance neighborhoods, which I really think is a really cool idea, that would be awesome. Like, even you could actually see maybe your guild's house, your guildmates' house.
Yeah. So that's the thing. If you have instance neighborhood type stuff, that means you have, let's say, for the sake of the argument, 10 plots of lands with 10 houses, right? We can have 20 or whatever. But that means that house A is at coordinates Y and Z, and house B is at coordinates G and H, right? Now, if we both have the same coordinates for our same house, which one of our houses gets to be showcased?
That's fucked up.
So that's the problem with you getting to actually choose a physical location that's different from another physical location, because then what if we're in a party or in a raid with everybody having different locations, then we can all see our houses together. But if two people have the exact same coordinates, the same vectors, then you cannot have that. So it would have to be there are 25 houses in Eastern Kingdoms that you can have for your own. I have house A, Marcelian has house B, Lego has house A too. Let's see how my house A ranks against his house A. So it depends how they implement it. There are ways, of course, and we're like kind of brainstorming right now, but I feel like the core rules is that we need to be able to have like a capital house where it might be tiny, like an apartment type thing, because it is less space, and it can be a farmland with like a yard where you can have your mounts. We cannot have both. I don't think they both can be in one thing, unless we just don't have any house in a capital city, because you don't have, like, where are you going to put a staples in Stormwind for everybody?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's not going to happen. No, I think the safest route is actually like on the outskirts of the capital cities, close to that. And I think that would also be, if they do some sort of like systems or activities that will make you like get out of the house, go into Stormwind or to Orgrimmar, you know, incentivize a little bit.
We come to my second point, because the garrisons taught us a very valuable lesson, is that
don't put everything in it.
They cannot be too convenient, but it cannot be it cannot have zero convenience, because if it has zero convenience, nobody's gonna be interested in it. Because let's be honest, the majority of the player base are very practically minded. People want to have a reason to do things. What do you get out of this? What do you get out of that quest? What do you get out of that achievement? What do you get out of your player house? You just get to stick Onyxia's head in and nobody will ever see. Because let's be honest, outside of maybe your closest friends, nobody's really gonna give a fuck about how you make your own house. Everybody wants everybody else to see their own house, but nobody's gonna care about what you have in your house.
One other point that I was like thinking is like, okay, so in terms of like decorations, we saw from the trailer that, you know, you mentioned Onyxia's head, we saw some weapons over there, we saw the target dummy. I was questioning are we gonna be able to place transmogs on display, like actually save sets?
Definitely.
I mean, but on display, dude. But on display. So the armor rack thing, right? But you customize that and you just have like your dressing room, right?
Sure.
Where everything is on display. I would love that shit.
They already had two instances that I can think of off the top of my head that happened this year with armor racks. In the WoW remix version, I don't know if this was back in MOPA as well, but if you go into the capital city, considering that you can buy your tier set from the vendors, each vendor was actually like a wooden stick man with the shoulders and the helmet. I think
they also have this in the celebration area with some of the armors, right?
That would be the second bit.
I want to like be able to click on that that and put pieces.
Yeah, why
good.
wouldn't you be able to? Why wouldn't they be able to use the transmog mirror type thing and create a model that can just copy your armors? You can just choose that model's armors. I don't see why that can be a thing. That's definitely a tech that can exist already in the game. I think that's like the least of our problems. That's definitely gonna be in. I don't think that's
all right. So
to put that in.
There's once again, like going back to like this divide between people like really not giving a fuck or actually being opposed to it, or the people who actually love the idea. Like, why do you think people are into player housing to begin with in a game like WoW? Where do you think the appeal lies?
It could be any one of 100 reasons, but the first one that comes to mind is that, and this is why I think it makes sense, even though this is part of WoW that the RPG version of WoW we might not, get into that much, but WoW is a metaphorical home for a lot of people. It's more than just a video game. I think we're past the point of trying to tell people, listen, WoW is just not a game anymore. Obviously, people use it as an escape into a game. They want to feel connected with the world. They do that by getting achievements, by doing little side quests with orphans, events, and all of that stuff. They gather certain mounts. They donate to charity. Obviously, WoW is a way for them to express themselves in a virtual world, and I don't see how WoW player housing is not exactly that.
Yeah, I agree. I would also add that any type of system that would let people customize it to their teeth will be something appealing. Now, on the other hand, we have a lot of people who do not care about that, who don't care about their transmog, don't care about that. All they want to do is in-game, endgame, Mythic Plus, rating or arenas, anything like that. Now, why do you think that is not player housing is not appealing at all for those people? I'm guessing that I'm not saying that's the only people who do not like it, but I clearly see
also a minority of people, but they're very vocal.
Yeah, but it's interesting to address it because it feels like for some of the people who are saying this is not a good idea, it feels like the underlying message to that is that they allocate resources for this when they could be allocating resources to class balancing or something like that.
The casual players could say the same thing. You only do things for endgame and you don't do something for me. So you can always have that argument. That's why the second point that I wanted to make about the player housing is that it has to be in some way practical. There has to be a practical element to it.
For sure.
It cannot just be cosmetic. So practical element I'm thinking of maybe in the context of the War Within, in our own little house, we have a portal to Hallow Fall. This is the only way to get efficiently to Hallow Fall, and you use your player housing to go there as opposed to just flying or using some quick little instancing quirks to be able to do it. You can just use your player housing to have access to that portal. You can have only one portal in your house. You can choose any kind of portal that's not already in your capital city, or we can have a professions table.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like profession, they could enhance professions a lot. Like actually, I would love it if they. It's gonna sound harsh, but gatekeep people for you want my services as a blacksmith. You better come to my house, bitch.
That would be so dope. Yeah, you can have your own black. That's what I said as well. Obviously,
great minds think alike.
That's why I think there has to be two types of houses. You cannot have all the professions inside because then you'll keep people inside again with the garrisons. So it has to be like just one thing. You get to choose one. Obviously, if you have a house in a
don't put everything in it. Yeah, for sure. No.
If it's a house in a capital city, like the apartment type, it has to have cooking by default. I mean,
it's a house.
You have to have your cooking, right?
For sure, yeah.
But you cannot put a blacksmith in the middle of Stormwind. It wouldn't make any sense. So it would have to be like a farm type house as well. So that's why I think that we're gonna have the duality in it. These are just fresh ideas. These don't have to be the elements that add the practicality value to your house, because this adds practical value to you. But what I really hope they do is that they give you a practical reason for me to get into your house.
Yeah.
That would be cool. That's how you get people to get into your house, because sure, I would like to see what you do with your house. That would be really cool. But I might be wrong.
Be useful, goddammit.
After like a week or let's say a month, you'd probably get over it. Like there's so much customizable options that they can do that we won't explore.
Hey, I'm not gonna get over it if you keep surprising me every time.
dude, we barely have time to get into a dungeon. Are you telling me that you're gonna say, okay, let's not go into a key. Let me see what you do with your place.
What would be even cooler is that you actually have a key system and you give me the keys from your house, and when you're not playing, I can go in and fuck up everything. Oh, look at that shit.
You're gonna draw dicks on my wall, man. I just know it. Of course.
It's gonna be the penis house. apart from like not giving everything like useful and practical within the house, they should definitely design some sort of like systems, interactivities, incentives to have people move out of the goddamn house and into the populated area, whether that it's a capital city or a big ass market in the neighborhood. I don't know, something along those lines.
What that could be, and that's tied to what Vanti is saying in chat. That's our boy Matt, by the way.
Hey Matt, what up?
Just make professions be able to make specific things for your house, like obviously furniture and stuff like that.
I think that goes without saying.
Yeah, that goes without. We haven't talked about what you would have to do for that, and those things could differ from the garrison because those things could be the things that take you out in the world. They shouldn't be the only things, but they could be extra things of going out into the world, like farming specific materials or specific places for specific furniture, where you could probably see more people doing that because they also want the thing that you want. That could add a level of, you know, open world communication, open world activities that you can see other players partake in, besides everything else like world quests, world bosses, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can just use that to create things. And the thing is, with the player housing, with the level of customization that they can introduce, that can just scale the type of content that people can do out in the world. They can give them so many options. Oh my god, you want to make furnitures? Well, you need profession A and profession B, and you need to farm these spots. And this is just for furniture. It can be then for weapon racks. It can be for boss trophies. Let's do old raids and get Onyxia down so we can mount her head on our wall, right? They can open up so much of the world with this particular thing, but it all boils down to how they will implement it, how the system will work into, first of all, get you to want to have a player house, get you to want to decorate it, and get your friends to want to see your player house. I think these are like three main crucial things that are, you know, important to be realized for this whole system to actually work.
They shouldn't make player housing mandatory or too powerful so people feel they are left behind. Okay, so purely cosmetic is one thing, practicality is one thing, but mandatory is a whole nother thing. And I agree here. They cannot go that far where you have to get into player housing and able to progress your character and have this edge in power or whatever. So maybe with the whole implementation of, okay, maybe professions would be a thing, because even now, like if you want to get into professions, you can, or not, or if not, you can just go into public quarters, right? It's not like, it's not mandatory to go into professions, is what I'm saying. It should be the same thing with the player housing. They should not have this be a requirement for people, especially because I can see the point of people not caring. I can see that. Not everybody will care about everything we talk about here on all of that. So it's fine, but please, Blizzard, do not make it mandatory. It's all I'm saying.